Well, good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Manlius Pebble Hill School Middle and Upper School Information Session. My name is Lisa Rainey. I'm the Director of Admissions here at MPH, and I'm joined by many of my wonderful colleagues who are equally excited to speak with you today, to answer questions, and to provide some helpful information about what's really special here in our middle and upper school program. So you'll have a chance to meet everyone here today. First off, keeping us moving here today, it will be Maria who's going to tell us more about our agenda for today.
Hi, welcome everybody. Today we have quite a packed agenda, but it's going to give you a really nice overview of what our school is like. And we'll end with a Q&A, and you'll also be offered many ways to stay connected or to get back in touch if you have any further questions. And we really are all excited to share how special our school is here at MPH.
Absolutely. Okay, so I've had a chance to introduce myself. Maria, since go ahead and tell us a little bit more about your history here, and we'll do a once around with the group.
Yes, I am new to admissions this year. However, prior to this, I'm a lower school teacher here at Manlius Pebble Hill for 10 years. And locally, I grew up in the area. So I'm really excited to be here to share all the things that I think make the independent education here at Manlius Pebble Hill so amazing, and what really drew me here to stay so long. I love it.
Francie, would you like to go next?
Hi, I'm Francie Van Ostenbridge. I am an admissions counselor here. I've been here for about a year and a half. I grew up in Maryland, going to a very small independent school, much like MPH. So it's sort of like coming home for me when I started working here. Really excited to have everyone here and to get to know a little bit more about you as we share more about MPH.
Pat, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Pat Bentley Hoke. I am the head of middle and upper schools. I have been in this is my first year as head of middle and upper schools, but I've been in various administrative roles for the last 5 years at MPH. But I have been at MPH for over 30 years as an English teacher and coach and advisor and parent. My sons both graduated from MPH, so I have lots of enthusiasm about the school, and I'm eager to share it with you. I'm excited to talk with you about the school today.
Thanks, Pat and Audrey. Yeah.
Hi everybody, I'm Audrey Yeager. I am in a new role also as Dean of Academics this year. The past couple of years, I have had a similar role in working with teachers in teaching and learning and doing professional development. I also teach science, and I currently teach the Advanced Studies Biology course. And I am also an MPH parent, and I have 2 kiddos in the upper school, and we all absolutely love it here.
Thanks, everyone. Maria, would you like to talk to us a little more about our core values, mission and core values?
Yes, I'd love to. Our mission and core values are really the heart of everything that we do here. It informs our day-to-day. I know as a lower school teacher, I taught our values of authenticity, respect, curiosity, kindness, and agency very directly and explicitly to our lower school children. And we really live them throughout the day and refer to them, reflect on them through instruction and all different times, whether we're out on the playground, in core health. We really adhere to the core values. And it really sets a tone for an environment here at Manlius Pebble Hill where every child feels known, supported, and challenged.
Absolutely, and that's for our young learners and our oldest ones as well. And you'll see that kind of reflected, as you said, throughout the experience here. In keeping with that too, and we think these things are really important to share when you think about mission and core values, our commitment to community that our new head of school, he's been here, this will be his 3rd school year this fall, really felt strongly about developing this year. We are an independent school, so we have a little bit of a different mission and purpose. Many families in the area are familiar with the public schools and maybe religious affiliated schools, and we are a true independent school. So we find it very important to share these values out with potential new families, to tell you more about what our priorities are, what our values are as a community. We have a long history here as our school, but we're looking to the future as well. So that's why we wanted to kind of ground our conversation today in some of these mission core values, strategic vision that we'll share in just a moment. And so you'll see on the screen our commitment to community, which tells you a bit more about the ways that we strive to be of and for Central New York, not separate from that community, but really part of the community that we call home. So we think that that's some important information to share. Along with the development of that commitment to community comes our strategic vision, which again, you'll see here, and that's to be the Syracuse prep school that develops each child's unique potential to be a leader the world needs. And leadership for our 3- and 4-year-olds and leadership for our seniors in high school can take on many different shapes and forms. And that's a big part of the cultivation and the experience that our families have here today. With all of that said, I'll turn it over to Pat to talk more about our middle and upper school program. So she and Audrey are going to walk you through a lot of exciting components to the lived experience of our students here.
Thank you, Lisa. So here at MPH, our students in middle and upper school are guided by caring, engaged adults who listen to them, who build strong relationships, and give them chances to make choices, to take good risks, to follow their curiosity and learn from their mistakes. One good example of this in the middle school is a STEM fair. Every middle schooler every year conducts their own experiment and participates in the STEM fair, and from ideas to design to implementation to presentation. I mean, that encompasses a lot of what we do, but that sort of choice making and personal investment, that's a part of everything that we do here. Similarly, we encourage students collaboration and involvement in groups, in classes, in discussion, in clubs, in service projects. And we encourage students to take on leadership roles that lead to their greater understanding of the entire community, whether they're working with peers or with adults or with younger students in our buddy program. And that last bullet there that refers to real scholarship and real world experiences, some of what we're talking about there has to do with, the experiences that we offer, like volunteering in-house to do things like be an ambassador for the admissions office, or work in the health office, or a variety of other ways in which our students give back to our community, service projects where they give back to the broader community, but also in the classroom. Real learning refers to, interacting with primary texts and with current thinking and writing on topics and concepts, rather than, interacting solely with a narrow sort of textbook account of an idea. Kids get out and interact with the ideas, and if they're really engaged with them, our faculty have the freedom to pursue that and investigate what the students are really interested in. Could we have the next slide, Lisa?
Thanks, Pat. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit about what our middle and upper school block schedule looks like. And it looks a little overwhelming at first, but once you see the pattern and the reasoning behind why it's structured this way, I think it really makes sense. So we have an 8-day rotating block schedule. There are 8 academic blocks, and those are the numbers you see there in the color blocks, 1 through 8. And so we have even days and odd days. And you'll notice, so for example, on day 1, we have blocks 1, 3, 5, and 7. So those are our odd blocks. And then our even days, like day 2, is 2, 4, 6, and 8. But each of those blocks will rotate throughout the cycle, but they kind of stay in numerical order. So for example, day 3 is an odd day, but day 3 starts with block 3. And then we go 3, 5, 7, and then 1. And again, so down the line, so day 4, 4, 6, 8, and 2. And we do that because, from what we know about learning and how the brain learns, that having the same academic class, the same time of day every day, can sometimes be a disadvantage for kids. So by cycling the kids throughout the day so that they don't have their math class the same time every day, it gives them different opportunities at the times of days to participate and engage in class. So each block is a 70-minute academic block, and you'll notice then between each block that there is different kinds of breaks. So between the first 2 blocks, we have a time called community time. And community time is when we do a lot of great activities. So there might be assemblies, there might be class meetings. One of those days is an advisory program where students work with their advisors and discuss all types of topics. And then the rest of the days, 6 of those 8 days, are clubs. And we have all kinds of clubs for our students to participate in, from things that are athletic based or just activity based or just having some fun, to board games, to chess club, to math club, to bicycle mechanics, and all kinds of opportunities for kids to participate in clubs. After clubs, there's also a little snack break in there that kids can have before lunch. And the reason we have these breaks between these academic blocks is that it helps kind of it's just a resetting period so that you're not going directly from math right into history. It gives the kids a little bit of a brain break and some time to kind of unwind before they start their next academic block. After around 11:30, we have a time called tutorial, and tutorial is where students can go to like their homeroom. It's kind of like a homeroom. They'll go to their advisor's room, and it's a time where they can go ask teachers for help on an assignment if they need some help with something. They can sign out and work with their peers on group projects, but it's a time for them to work on academic tasks. Middle school and upper school have slightly different lunch times. So you'll see that there in that third block. And after that lunchtime, and we have our final block there, but even between the last 2 blocks, academic blocks, there is at least a 10-minute break for middle schoolers too. And again, that design is intentional to give the kids some time to reset between each academic block, as we know. I think, okay. And then this is just a sample schedule of what a middle school student's day might look like, or rotation rather. So the middle school is on the left and the upper school sample is on the right. So you'll see the blocks numbered there as they were on the previous slide. So block 1 would always be history 8 for this middle school student. And then I kind of color coded there the community time. So again, day 1 community time might be an assembly. And then on day 2, you might have chess club if you're a middle school student. And tutorial and lunch are back to back for middle school. And then for upper school, of course, we still have all kind of the core courses, but they might be advanced level courses. And so the AS designation there on the upper school sample is advanced studies. But again, the community time, tutorial and lunch blocks there. And one thing I wanted to note additionally about community time is that our entire community, K through 12, has that community time. So that also offers us the opportunity to do K through 12 planning. And we do have something called a buddy time, where our upper schoolers and middle schoolers get to work alongside our lower schoolers as well.
Right, thanks, Audrey. So the MPH difference, what makes us unique, and what's special about our school? So as Audrey alluded to in describing what we do with the schedule, we stay up to date with brain research as it relates to teaching and learning and best practices pedagogically, but also in terms of what we do throughout the day down to the structure of our schedule, as she described. And Audrey will talk some more about this later on in our presentation. But another piece of that is the value and the importance of relationships. A part of what the research indicates to us and what we know from our experience is that a sense of connection and belonging is just vital for kids to thrive and learn. Building these relationships is something that we prioritize. All of our faculty serve as advisors to small groups that are designed to cultivate this sense of belonging and to involve students in that process. This is true in classes too. So both in classes and advisories, one of the earliest activities that we do in the year is establishing a set of agreements together, student and faculty member, for what we expect of each other in terms of behavior and interactions in a class. This gives kids ownership in the process. And as they get older, we ask more and more leadership of the students in this regard so that they're supporting this culture of belonging and strong relationships as well. Another way we help students be connected is by encouraging them to try things, anything that we offer, as long as it's appropriate to our mission and our means, we want them to do it. So sports to performance, to travel, to academics, everything. And especially in the middle school, even if they've never been on stage, for instance, we want them to try out for the play or the musical. Even if they haven't tried a sport, we want them to try it. And they can do all of that here. They don't have to try one thing and that closes the door to other opportunities. So that's something that we find really important. And when they make these attempts, when they try these new things, they'll find that they're supported both by the adults and their peers in the community. Everybody likes to see everybody else give it a try and experience new things. Capstone research projects are an important process and experience, and that's sort of an example of all of what we've been talking about, building on students' earlier experiences with developmentally appropriate versions of this extended research project and presentation happening at the culmination of each division. So there's a 5th grade capstone project, an 8th grade capstone project, and a senior capstone project. And we'll talk about the senior project a little bit later in the 8th grade. Obviously, those look a little bit different for those different ages, but all of those give the students a sense of ownership, and it's a great culmination of this journey to sort of independence and responsibility. Can we have the next slide, Lisa, please? Thank you. So in middle school, we want them to try it all on. So in their courses, they are enrolled in performing and visual arts classes throughout middle school. So 6th through 8th grade, everybody takes visual art classes. Everybody takes a performing art, whether that's chorus or band or orchestra. They can add dance to that. There are also visual arts classes in which they'll explore a variety of media and ways of expressing themselves. We never want a student to dismiss or think of themselves as not an artist in some way just because it's not something that had been a big part of their lives before. We want them to try all of it. So they get this opportunity to do that all together, as well as some extracurricular opportunities to do more of that. Audrey mentioned clubs before. Again, great place to try things on. We also give kids the opportunity, if they have a passion that doesn't appear in our club offerings, to gather a group of like-minded students and find an advisor and make it happen. And we encourage that too. Leadership team in the middle school is a really unique experience. Students apply for that rather than just get elected in a popularity contest. They apply. They have to do some self-reflection. They have to think about why and what it would be like to be a student leader. And most of those who apply and take a lot of time with it are accepted. And then the experience they have is both a learning experience. They're being taught directly how to be a good leader, what that looks like, the variety of ways that happens, as well as representing their classmates and sharing ideas with faculty and administration about what students need and want. Athletics. In middle school, 7th and 8th graders, everybody gets to play, everybody gets to try. So everybody gets a spot on the team and gets to learn. If it's a student who's been playing the sport for years and years and years, they get a chance to be a leader and a model. If it's a student who's trying something new, they get that great experience of overcoming that, the nervousness around, taking that kind of risk. So all of that is great. And then, 8th grade capstone project, kids get to pick whatever topic they want as long as they can follow it up with research. They do interviews, they do research, they learn about resource evaluation, which is a really key skill, especially now. And then they do presentations during the school day with their peers and some parents and faculty in attendance. Could move on to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, and in the upper school, so all of those habits, that sense that it's important and exciting to try new things, we expect that to be kind of baked into the approach that our upper schoolers take to their experience in upper school. So striving for excellence doesn't mean perfection. It means that you're continuing to try to challenge yourself. And you recognize now firmly that when you do that, you are going to make mistakes. That is a vital part of it. If you're not making mistakes, if you get it all right to start with, that's not learning, right? So that's a really important part of the experience in upper school. There's a gradually growing independence and responsibility that comes with that. Students, as they get older in upper school, have more choice, you know, in terms of the courses they take, but they also have more choice in terms of what they do during a day. For instance, seniors, if with the permission of their parents, are allowed off campus during their free blocks. There's a lot of responsibility that goes with that. They take on leadership roles in a variety of ways, in a variety of organizations. And they also learn about what leadership is just on a day-to-day basis, but they have a lot more responsibility for cultivating and nurturing the school culture when that happens, right? And then the senior capstone, we've already talked a little bit about it. It's a year-long project. All seniors do this. They all begin in the junior year to explore ideas and then narrow it, come up with a thesis, do their research, again, using all those skills that they've built around resource evaluation, bibliography creation, and presentation. They do a long-term project that culminates in a paper and an evening of presentation. And it's an incredibly impressive thing and an important experience for them. Lisa Rainey reminded me we have a great bound compendium of their projects from this year, which is really amazing.
We do, and I
So-
kind of hold this up. Yeah, this is sort of our coffee table look here in the farmhouse where the admissions office is. And I love this, you know, it's what a sense of pride. And it's going to be hard to see on Zoom. Stop by for your tour and you'll get to review this. But their names, their topics, their bibliographies are in here. What a huge sense of pride for a 17 or 18-year-old student to have. And also, you know, Francie and I worked together in college admissions for years and years. What a wonderful little gem. And we're going to talk about college counseling in just a few moments. But what a lovely standout thing for a young person to have as they're entering that college counseling and college, rather, application process, to have a full-fledged research project that they've done as a high school student. So we get very excited about that, but it's very unusual. And it's something really special that our seniors do.
Pat gave us a really good overview of just kind of, you know, what the culture is like in middle and upper school, and what kiddos can their experience during that time. I want to highlight a little bit more about some of our academics and our curriculum. So we've mentioned a lot about the idea of neuroscience and understanding how the brain learns. And in the classroom, of course, we use those concepts as well. So you'll find that teachers, one thing we know is that, you know, varying modalities of presenting content to students helps students actually learn better and learn more. So teachers will vary the ways that they have students engage in content, from discussions to articles to interactive projects or building something. We also know that we have to vary the way that we assess kids on that content and the ways that they're engaging. So, you know, assessment in this particular area might look very different from another classroom, but you know, teachers will take what they know about teaching and learning and their content and match the appropriate assessments to the content that they're trying to cover. And then we also know that students need choice in their learning, opportunities for choice. And that doesn't just mean, you know, what classes am I going to take as an upper school student, but within each class, you know, what are my choices, and how do I make the best choices for me as a learner? And our teachers will help students guide students in that process. And then also an opportunity to reflect on their learning too. If I didn't do so great here, what areas, what things strategies could I use next time to help me, you know, improve what I'm working on? Our faculty are models and mentors. They don't just, you know, have the mission and core values posted on their classroom walls. They emulate those because they too are lifelong learners and they participate in professional development. Our faculty culture is very collaborative. You'll see faculty in each other's classrooms and giving each other ideas and encouraging each other. We do peer observations, and we have several professional development days throughout the year where we talk about what's happening in our classrooms and what's going on and our successes and the areas that we want to improve on. So faculties are also modeling what we expect students to do, and that's to take ownership of your own learning and growth. In addition, faculty get to bring their own passions and interests into the classroom as well and really share that with kids. And, you know, when a teacher is excited about something, it really helps the kids get excited about something. So we have the opportunity to do that. Our advanced studies in upper school. So a few years ago, we transitioned away from advanced placement curriculum. We felt that the AP curriculum was very rigid and the pressure of the standardized test at the end didn't really align with our mission and core values. So we developed our own advanced studies curricula. Those courses are designed to be very challenging college level courses. They're typically offered to 11th and 12th graders, and it requires that the student have a certain level of motivation and maturity and independence, again, in a little bit of ownership in their own learning. And each of those classes often ends in some type of final research project. And that, again, that can be very different depending on if it's a science class or if it's a history class. And those course offerings can change year to year as well, depending on teacher availability or teacher interest or in student interest as well. So for example, some of the courses that we have this year are, we have an AS English class called American Ghosts and a history class called Philosophy and Ethics in the Modern World. And we have advanced chemistry and intro to organic and biochem. So those are some of our advanced studies options. And finally, we have the Malone School Online Network. So we are part of this collaboration of independent schools. There are independent schools in each state who are part of the Malone Schools Online Network, and it offers an online learning opportunity to engage in really specialized curricula that we may not be able to offer here just because of our teacher availability. So it allows students to meet other teachers and other students from across the US and sometimes even around the world and take courses that we may not offer here. So these are advanced courses again as well. So maybe they want to take Arabic or advanced linear algebra. So it's another way for students to engage in and again, the choice option. So find something that you're really interested in and learn a little bit more about it.
All right, and I don't know how easy it'll be for you to read these, but you should read these testimonials from a recent parent of a graduate and a recent graduate of MPH. Essentially, you've heard a lot about the culture, kind of as we've talked about various aspects of life at the school, but the essence of it is that we value making every person here feel seen, heard, and cared for, and we hold each other, all of us, adults and students, accountable for supporting that atmosphere. Audrey just mentioned that we as employees of the school seek to embody and model all of the values that we hold dear and that we think are important to a sense of belonging and community here. And the same is true for kids. They hold doors for each other here. They thank teachers, middle schoolers and upper schoolers, as they're leaving the classroom, genuinely, authentically. And when there are disputes, they eagerly engage in reflective, restorative discussions about those ideas. They practice hearing each other, they practice mirroring each other's feelings and ideas, and they take responsibility to resolve difficulties and conflicts when those happen. That's the essence of it, and it's vital, and it requires ongoing maintenance, and everybody takes part in that. Okay, and so our college counselor, who Patrick Lutz, who is not here with us, asked me to talk to you a little bit about this. This is an extension, this process, college counseling at MPH is an extension of all of the things that we've just talked about. He himself is an incredible model of all of the qualities we've just enumerated as part of what we hold dear. So he prioritizes forming good relationships with each of the students and families that he works with in the upper school, really understanding their strengths, their interests, their preferences, what their comfort level in various regards, and then finding the schools that will serve all of those needs. So trying to guide and steer our families and our students to seek schools that really serve them in terms of their ambitions and their interests, rather than looking for the right bumper sticker. So fit over prestige and building relationships, these are things that are really important. He spends time to really listen to students so that he can help guide them to these right fit schools that will serve those needs for them. The no need to rush bullet is about the sense of pressure that I think all of us feel now in this process to get started and to be thinking about it early. Really in 9th and 10th grade, students should just be pursuing their passions, trying things on, doing their best in their courses, and getting engaged in their community and with extracurriculars to really find what inspires them and where they excel and what they love. And then the process itself really begins in the junior year. But as is indicated there, Patrick Lutz has a pretty open door policy. His office, in fact, is connected to a student space called the College Hub, where juniors and seniors hang out. And frequently they just sort of walk into his room and have conversations. So it's a very, very fluid, ongoing process. And our students feel very well supported and do very well in this process. So, and this indicates that sort of timeline that I just mentioned. I'll just give you a minute to look this over. The testing that we do, the PSAT and pre-ACT in 10th grade, that's really because we don't do a lot of standardized testing. Those are opportunities for students just to practice that process. So we prepare them by showing them what that test would look like and walking them through that experience in those two ways before those tests really have any weight for them. The PSAT, when they take it in their 11th grade year, would have some bearing on the merit scholarship process through the College Board. But it's, again, just a practice. And then, the process goes from there. A lot of families might begin those visits before 11th grade, but Patrick Lutz does a great job of helping people understand, how to go about that and really make the most of those visits, retain and gather as much information that's going to be usable and that you can incorporate into the decision-making process.
Thank you, Pat and Audrey. And what I'm so impressed with when I hear both of you speak is that we give kids a lot of independence here. I want to take these classes that I see in the upper school course catalog. They're really interesting. I wish I would have had access to those when I was in high school. And it's very comparable. It's more of a college-ish experience that students have with electives, with some freedom to make choices, to learn from what they do with those choices. So I think that's an incredible opportunity that our students benefit from that, maybe a larger school may not be able to offer in quite the same way. So really great to hear about that. We hope that those of you joining us at home are also excited and this really aligns with what you want for your children and the experience you hope to provide for them. So we're happy to jump in at this point to talk more about the admissions process, the application process, which we're here. We can't go over everything necessarily today, but we hope that this is a helpful start and know that you have a team here to really support you throughout this process. So really the first step is often a campus tour. Some families will apply or reach out and kind of start the process and then come in and tour, but we can certainly start with that, check things out and see if this is really something that aligns with what your family is looking for your children. It's summer as we're recording this, so it is summer camp season here at MPH, which is a very different energy than during the school year. You're welcome to come over the summer, but we do particularly love to have families come in, during the school day to see everything in motion, to see our students, to interact with them, to peek into classrooms and listen to those conversations as they're happening. So that's really ideal, but we welcome really for you to come at, whatever timing might work for you. The application itself, which we can send you that link for, is what starts a family's file here in our enrollment management portal. So that's online. That sets up your enrollment portal with your checklist and all the other things that you'll need to submit, which you see here on the screen. We do need report cards for 2 years. So the current year that the student is in, as well as the previous year. If your children have a 504 IEP, we do ask for that so that we can take a look at that carefully and see, if we're able and resourced appropriately to provide that right kind of support for a student. We do require math and English recommendations from their current year teachers. So it's good to have a conversation with the teachers in advance to say, this is, something that we're looking at. You'll get an email prompt, and just keep an eye out for that. So it's good to have those conversations ahead of their receiving that email prompt. There is a student questionnaire that we have the kids complete. So that should be from them in their handwriting, kind of reflective of, their interests and abilities and curiosities that they might have. And those are sort of the more formal documents that we require. Once we get all of that, we take a look at it as a committee and we see, this looks good. This seems like the student would be a good fit. Then we'll bring the child in for a shadow day. And that's during the school year. We assign them a student host, and a lot of care goes into setting up kind of common interests and personalities. And this student plays tennis, and then, this is a great match. We want to set the student up to have a positive experience with us. So we'll tell them in advance, this is your host's name. This is your schedule for the day. This is what's for lunch. Here's where you go, kind of walk the family through all those details so you have a good idea of what to expect. New this year, we are working in a really brief math assessment and a writing prompt during the day for that shadow day visit. Again, all of this is meant to see if we're a good fit for the student. Is the student a good fit really in both directions? So not to intimidate anyone, that will be a small part of the day, but just a good checkpoint for us to make sure that this is a good fit in both directions. And the visit comes at the end so that we can see everything's kind of trending in a positive direction. And, we want this to be a positive experience for kids. So during the summer, sometimes we're not able to do that. We'll still bring in that visit, but we really love and encourage families to do this process during the school year so that we can include that shadow day for the kids. They show up a little bit nervous, maybe first thing in the morning, and by the end of the day, they usually have had a really great experience. So it's one of our favorite things, I think, to do here with the admissions team. Hand in hand, of course, with the admissions process is, of course, tuition and affordability, which we're going to talk about in just a moment. So we always encourage families to call, to talk to us. We have conversations every day with families who might say something like, I've been thinking about MPH for years, and I always thought it would be really a good fit for my child. Maybe I've been a little nervous about the finances and how to make all of that work. Lots of conversations online about these things. And, like anything, we encourage families to call us, talk to us. That is what we do, and have those conversations about affordability. And we'll walk through some options and some things to think about in just a moment. So tuition for next year. So for 25-26, you'll see here for middle school and upper school. I will go back, as we mentioned earlier, we are an independent school, so we don't receive state or federal funding. We don't have an affiliation with a religious group or other organization that might provide funding. So the tuition that families pay and the fundraising that's coordinated through our development team is what provides us with our operating budget. It's how we pay teachers. It's how we provide great learning opportunities and really enhance this academic program in the ways that we do year over year. So middle school tuition for next year coming up is $26,390. Upper school, so that's grades 6 through 8. Upper school, grades 9 through 12, is $28,980. And we obviously recognize that that's a substantial investment for local families. And we do view it as an investment. You can kind of hear the value and see the benefits that come along with that tuition cost. But we also know that many families are maybe a little concerned about how to make all of that work. We have families who do pay full tuition. That is true. That is not necessarily the majority of our families. I think that's a common maybe misconception that's out there in the community, that you have to be able to pay that full tuition amount in order to send your child to MPH. When in reality, about 40% of our families participate in our flexible tuition program. Flexible tuition is what we call financial aid basically here. So that's certainly available. We do have a number of staff children here. We have some staff parents and parents of former students here on the call. So I think that adds also a level of investment in the community. There's a real buy-in when it's our own children who are in these hallways and having this experience. But it's definitely not an ivory tower community where everyone's just paying full tuition and that's inaccessible to a lot of people. So we really encourage families to call, talk to us, have that conversation about affordability here. A couple of different ways, flexible tuition being one option where we can have a family apply through Clarity. That's the process that we use to determine eligibility there. We also will have our second scholarship day. So we launched this new program last year, and we'll be bringing that back again this year. That will be a combination of need-based financial aid like we offer through flexible tuition. We'll also have some smaller merit tuition grants. So for families who may not otherwise qualify for flexible tuition based on their income, we'll be including some of those smaller tuition grants purely based on merit. As we know that can be really helpful for families too. Other logistics in ways that this can work for families that I think are important to know. Payment plans, lots and lots of families use one. Some families will pay up front and there's a discount if you make one payment and pay for the year. Others might go up to 12 months or so every year in order to really manage monthly budgeting, expenses, all of those things that we know are part of raising a family. So that's very common, and our business office is great about working with families on specific dates and timing and all of those things that can really make a difference. It is possible. I think a lot of folks think about 529s as college savings accounts, and they can certainly work that way. But that is another option to cover independent school tuition. So if that's something that is available to you and your family, that's an option as well. And on the same lines, not an official strategy, but something we certainly see is families sitting down together and the family kind of rallies. I mean, we have grandparents who are assisting with grandchildren coming here. I think there's a lot of conversations at home about priorities and how we might work together. Obviously, those aren't necessarily things that are available to every family, but it's something that we see, and we share that as a way for families out there who might have concerns in that arena. There are ways that families can make this work. So talk to us. The big takeaway there, if that's the concern that's keeping you from calling, we encourage you to call and let's have that conversation and walk through what some of those options might look like. Great. So at this point, I usually stop talking a little bit. For those of you joining the call live, we do have that Q&A feature at the bottom of the screen, and that's where we find ourselves now in the session. So we'll give you a moment or two to send us any questions. So again, we can't see or hear you, so that Q&A function is how you can send in those questions. But I guess maybe to get us started for Audrey and Pat, we had a great question, and it's something that we don't always think about because we have such a small community here. But campus safety, school safety came up in one of our sessions earlier this week, and I thought that was a really great topic. So I wondered if you might speak to the ways that we see and support kids and know families. And of course, we have security cameras and all of those infrastructure things too. But while we wait for any other questions to come in, if you might talk a little bit about safety.
Sure. Thank you, Lisa. So I think our primary investment in security is what we described about our school culture. I think the primary way that we protect our students is that we know them all really well. There are teams of teachers in each grade who advise that grade level and meet regularly to talk about kids' progress and their well-being. So before anyone gets to anything like a crisis, if a student is struggling, we know about it and their advisor knows about it, and we communicate with families and we seek help if students need that help. And it's not even things that are that serious. Maybe they're just a little tired, they're not sleeping well. We notice these things because we have these really well-supported relationships within the school, and that's the primary line of safety, I think. We also, there are safety measures on campus that Lisa mentioned that are more of the more practical variety. So, the campus is closed and locked except for when we are welcoming students onto campus each day and when we're dismissing students, and there are adults monitoring every open doorway at those times of days, several adults in each place. In order to enter campus, there's one location where people can enter campus during the day, and they have to be buzzed in by our front desk. There are cameras in place, and sign in for anybody visiting campus who isn't a member of the community and wouldn't be there on a regular basis. So those are some of the things, and we're always looking for ways to bolster that security. Nothing is foolproof. I think our attention to the humans involved in our community is really the best method possible, and what we rely on.
And I agree. And I don't always get to go out for pickup and drop off as much as I would like, but I'm so impressed with the teachers and administrators who were there, and that each kid to, how's your mom's cold? Did you sign your permission slip? Don't forget that paper's due tomorrow, to a child. Our staff knows everybody. So if there's a flicker of anything happening, you've got staff members here who are responsive to that. We did speak in an earlier session about our counseling staff. So we have an in-house school counselor. He's very accessible. He's the boys soccer coach, so he's also just an approachable, cool guy, so there's not a stigma of, oh, you're going to speak with the counselor. The kids love him. He's actually spearheaded bringing additional staff members to join his team this year. So we're in a really fortunate place to be able to add and kind of lean into the staffing that we offer here, which I think is tremendous peace of mind for parents. Whether it's just a little anxiety or you're nervous about the college process or whatever that might be, to have additional partners there is really a great thing. As we kind of run close on time, we do have a question about cell phone policy. So we know New York State has had lots of legislation coming down, and schools are handling this in some different ways. So I wonder if you might be able to speak to our cell phone policy here, which is new this year.
Yeah, so new last year. So we implemented this technology policy in response to what we were seeing in terms of student attention and behavior, and also concerns that parents were raising. I think we've all seen the research, and we all know the effects that having your cell phone buzzing at you can have on people's concentration and certainly on student learning. So our technology policy is that students take whatever their cell phones or smartwatches, and from 8:05, 5 minutes before class begins in the morning, until 3:05, the end of class is at the end of the day, those items are in a backpack or in a locker. We don't take them and lock them up because we believe in giving kids that agency, because we have this mutual trust, and we want them to learn how to manage their responsibility for their own learning. So students put the phones away at the beginning of the day. If they need to contact parents, they're allowed to ask a teacher for permission or an employee for permission and use their phones temporarily. Any function that a phone might serve, social media, games, things like that, they are also not allowed to do on their computers, and we monitor that as well. And students recognize, and I think by and large really appreciate, the break from the pressures that social media and other uses of the phone kind of put on them and their attention and their emotional lives. So that's something that's gone really well. Certainly there are conversations that we have to have when students slip and pull a phone out and aren't thinking about it. There are also some privileges that our older students get when they're free to use their phones in certain very limited designated spaces, all in line with the graduating kind of developmentally appropriate level of responsibility that we give students as they age through the program.
Great, thank you, Pat. It looks like those are all of our questions for now. We are running close on our time, so I wanted to make sure we talked about next steps. Again, we hope that for those of you joining us from home or maybe watching after the fact, we hope to speak with you again and really engage with you and your families throughout this process. There are a lot of different ways to do that, so we will share our contact information on the next slide. As I mentioned earlier, we do tours really throughout the year, so that can be a great starting point. Sometimes a parent or two parents will come first, scout things out a little bit, then they come back with their child later. So any variation of that, we're happy to schedule with you. We do have some special events coming up that we'd be happy to welcome you to join us for. So our middle and upper school open house will be on Friday, October 24th. That will be from 12:30 to 3:30. You see on the screen there. That'll include a student panel. It'll include a student-led campus tour by one of our wonderful admissions ambassadors. You'll get to hear from school leadership. We'll also have a nice session with our college counselor. So if you're thinking about that is a priority and you'd like to learn more, he'll be joining us for a special session during that event too. So it'll be an action-packed afternoon. Registration will open September 1st on our website for that. So we welcome you to join us for that. As I mentioned earlier, we do have that scholarship program. So this is not a requirement, but for families who would like to have their children considered for our Emerging Leaders Scholarship Program, that's for young leaders, very high academic achievers, strong curiosity. We've got some wonderful new students starting in our middle and upper school this year that came to us through this program. So that event will be on February 7th. So families do need to have completed applications. We'll counsel you through that process. But just keep in mind, we are asking families to apply and get everything in by December 1st to be eligible to potentially take part in that very special program. So other ways to stay connected. We don't want this to be the only interaction that you have with our team. As you can tell, we love this place, we love this community, and are excited to see it grow. So you'll see all of our contact information. For those of you joining the live call, we'll follow up with a recording and obviously with all of our contact info again, so that we can continue these conversations and stay in touch in the weeks and months ahead. So I want to thank all of you joining from home for joining us today. We tried to make this relatively quick, but still get some really helpful information in here for you. I want to thank all of my colleagues for joining us today to share your expertise and your knowledge and really the passion for supporting students. I think that really shines through in the conversations that we've had today. So many thanks to all of you, and we hope to hear from you soon, families. So have a wonderful afternoon and stay in touch.